Hey friends, welcome back. Today I've got a really important question. The question is, how do you disagree with your boss? I imagine at least once in your experience as a professional worker, you probably have had an opportunity to disagree with your boss. I have. Let me tell you one way in which didn't work. So this is several years ago. In fact, it was in my second year of being principal of a school. And our superintendent came up with this idea for a dress code policy. I didn't think it was necessary. I didn't think our teachers needed it. And in all reality, it was kind of a surprise. We didn't know much was coming out of this. It just basically happened one day, and then the next day what we needed to do is gather our staff together and explain to our staff this dress code policy. Well, that day happened to be Teacher in-Service Day. I had a whole lot of things that we're going to be talking about, some vision planning, some activities, some get-to-know-you stuff. And during this meeting, I did cover the dress code. In fact, I did it like this. Staff, I hate to tell you, but man alive, our superintendents come up with a decision. I'm not sure if this really applies to us. I don't think we really need it here. I'm not even too sure that I agree with it, but I have to share it with you. So here's what it is. It's our dress code. As you can imagine, there might have been some huzz and haws inside of the audience there, but what was most terrible was my superintendent called me up later on that evening and said, Jason, we need to talk first thing in the morning. And sure enough, I went into his office first thing in the morning and I got ripped apart because I disagreed with my boss, but I didn't do it in the right way. So allow me to share with you 5 different ways in which you can use to be able to disagree with your boss. Way number 1 is this. Before any kind of disagreement, have a conversation and ask how first. That is, ask your boss how to disagree with him or her before the occasion comes up. It's a relatively simple thing. Hey boss, do you have a minute or two? Great. I'm wondering, when it comes to communication, what's some things that we could be able to discuss? For example, how do you feel about everybody being CC'd on an email? That always leads to a good conversation. How do you feel about evening or nighttime calls? How frequently do you check your email? What would you like me to do to notify you of an emergency? And by the way, boss, if I don't agree with you, how can I address that with you? What would be your preferred method for me to express my disagreement? So step number 1, ask how first. Step number 2, don't do it in public. My issue was I disagreed with my boss's decision on dress code, and I announced it to the whole entire world. I can disagree, you can disagree, but we probably shouldn't announce it to the entire world. What should we do rather? Well, instead of going to our teams and our staff and saying things like, well, corporate said this, or my boss has made another decision, or they're making these things harder again, whatever it is, stop using they and their and corporate and passing the buck on to others. In fact, I'm saying own it. Go to the meeting, go to your staff and say, hey, we have decided, we are moving forward. Our company has made the decision and I'm in support of that, right? We're trying to present a face of the company to our staff, a face where we're unified, even though there may be some disagreement behind the scenes. So number 2, don't do it in public. Number 3, bring a solution. Bosses love it when you've got a solution to the problems that are going on in the business. So think about, how did their decision impact what's going on? Obviously, you disagree with it, so there's probably a better solution. Figure out what that solution is, then go back to your boss. And don't say, hey, boss, I've got a better solution. Yours is ridiculous. That's a terrible, terrible idea. Go back to your boss and just say this. I know you've just made a decision about this, but could I offer an idea? Can I give you a suggestion? Maybe some options of other ways we could look at this? And if he or she says yes, go ahead and share that. Number 4, come with data. They say that about 87% of all data is completely made up. I'll let you think on that one for a minute. But if there's anything that your boss loves more than a solution, it's probably going to be data. So find the data that might support a different solution or might show your boss that the decision that he or she has made may not be the most effective or best decision now. Now, this isn't the kind of data you're looking at where you go around and you survey all your staff that you work with and you go back to your boss and you're like, hey, I've surveyed everybody, and 65% of us don't agree with you. Not that kind of data. Like, we're looking at results and outcomes. How does this affect our production numbers? What does this do for our KPIs? Those pieces of data bosses love to be able to have. So convince them with the data that your idea might be better than their idea. And then number 5, finally here, sometimes you just have to agree with it, right? You got to toe the company line. That is, if a decision has been made, let's just support the decision, even though they might not be completely open to your disagreements, thoughts, ideas, or solution. In fact, if you're in such a situation, basically you have 3 decisions to make when it comes to towing the company line. Number 1 is go along with it. Like, you're just, okay, here's what it is. And that's a solution a lot of times. In fact, maybe you don't agree and there's nothing really that can change from that. So just calm down your disagreement and keep moving forward. Number 2 is you could leave. Obviously, that's an answer, an opportunity, an option that you could be able to look at. If you don't really like how things are going, there are other places where you can go. Or number 3, and this is the one that I like the best, become the boss, right? Then you can be using your own decisions and being able to, encourage those across your team and across the company. So you can agree with your boss, leave the organization, or become the boss. Ladies and gents, that's 5 different ways on how you can disagree with your boss. I wish you the very best of luck in this, and thank you for tuning in today.